I mean, when they polled people, 80% of people think that accountability is punitive. Yeah.
Wait a minute,
80%.
stop for a second. Back up for a second. So 80%, 8 out of 10 people think that accountability is punitive.
Correct. And that is a systems problem. But it's a systems problem. It's a systems problem. And that's what we're going to try to burn down today, is to look at that in a very different way so people can start seeing accountability as empowering and not as a punitive system.
You're locked in to Burn the Blueprint podcast, where Tony Tidbit and Dr. Bridget Cooper challenge outdated rules and build smarter ways to lead. If you're ready for courage, clarity, and real talk, you're in the right place. All right, team, what blueprint are we burning today?
Hi, I'm Tony Franklin, also known as Tony Tidbit.
And I'm Dr. Bridget Cooper, also known as Dr. B.
And welcome to Burn the Blueprint podcast,
where we break down an outdated corporate playbook, call out what is not working, and rebuild stronger, smarter, people-centered teams that actually drive performance.
Absolutely. So, Dr. B, you ready to dive in today?
I got the match right here. Well, the lighter anyway.
Good, because we're going to need it, right? Because we're going to be burning down one of the other biggest blueprints in corporate America, and its title is accountability.
Did you just swear? I think you just swore.
No. Well, see, that's the thing, though, right? Because you're right. Today, accountability has become a dirty word in leadership, okay? You know, it's a cuss word, right? Where somewhere along the way, though, to be fair, and again, it's an old blueprint, it's got confused with micromanagement, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be micromanaged. And so they kind of, slid accountability into micromanagement. Thus, to your question, did I curse? It becomes a dirty word, right?
Right.
So, and micromanagement is always about controlling people. And when you control people, you don't incorporate trust, correct?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Leaders have backed off because of that.
Yeah, accountability. So and that retreat did not empower anybody. It just confused them. They didn't need to be hovered over, but they needed to be clear about what was expected of them.
Absolutely, right? And here's the thing, though, right? Accountability isn't pressure. It's just creating structure so everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what's expected of them, right? And that's the key. And so today, unfortunately, accountability feels oppressive because leadership never made what clear?
Accountability, right? Expectations.
Or expectations.
Yeah,
exactly. Right?
Yeah.
They never made expectations clear. So when you don't have clear expectations, it's hard to have accountability.
100%. I mean, when they polled people, 80% of people think that accountability is punitive. So yeah.
Wait a minute, stop for a second. Back up for a second. So 80%, 8 out of 10 people think that accountability is punitive.
Correct. And that is a systems problem. But it's a systems problem. It's a systems problem. And that's what we're going to try to burn down today, is to look at that in a very different way so people can start seeing accountability as empowering and not as a punitive system.
Well, it's funny you bring that up when you said a systems problem, right? You know I love telling stories. You mind if I tell a quick story?
Tell a story. We love your stories.
Okay. All right. 'Cause let's talk about the system. So I remember when I started at this company and, I've been in sales. I was leading a sales team. And the company basically had an account management, a client management team. And typically they would work with the account executives, right, to help the account executives in terms of anything from a back office standpoint to even making sure that the clients are okay, proposals, all the things that the AE or the salesperson would need from a back office standpoint, right? So typically places I've been at, they would give, it was a numbers game, right? We'll give one account manager or client service manager to 2 salespeople, right? Or whatever the case may be, just based on the numbers and whatever. However, at this organization, let's say, I don't know, maybe we had 20 salespeople, maybe. And then they probably had, 10, 12, account managers, okay? But their system, let's go to that system part, but their system was not to design one individual or one-on-one or 1 to 2 account managers to AEs. Their system was an open system. So the AE would send their challenge into this portal. and whoever was available, okay, would grab it and then handle the situation. Okay. Now, think that through when we talk about systems. So let me share in terms of what actually happened. And this happens in every company in America.
This is a story of 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done.
Oh, it's so rich with examples.
And
Tony.
that's exactly what happened, right? Nobody did anything. All right, because everybody thought it was somebody else's responsibility to do it, but nobody did anything. And then when we got mad, everybody said, "What? It wasn't me," right? And that's when you talk about having the systems doesn't work. That didn't work because of the lack of accountability, and it was set up that way.
Exactly. A couple decades ago, I created and ran a summer camp for kids at the George Washington University. And we did CPR and first aid training. And one of the first things they tell you when you need 911 called, you don't just yell out, "Somebody call 911." You look someone dead in the eyes, like you are like connecting with them across the ethers. And you are like, "You call 911." Like, because if not, everyone's just looking around. "Oh, I thought you called. I thought you called.
I thought you did.
You called. I thought you thought." Yeah. And then meanwhile, John Doe dead on the ground.
They're dead.
Yeah. John Doe, DOA. Yeah. And so it's the same thing in organizations where you have to have measured accountability and people know what is expected of them. The problem, why that 80% of people think it's punishment, is because 93% don't understand the alignment of their jobs to the objectives. They don't understand how one translates to the other. I was just talking with a client the other day about this idea that they seem to have this accountability for the results without any authority to actually put them in place. And so that's a systems issue. It's a systems issue. And that's what we need to address.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, too. It's definitely a systems issue because in that situation, they set it up to fail. All right. And at the end of the day, and let's be fair, employees, the majority of them are followers. So they're only going to do what they're told, right? This wasn't brain surgery in terms of anybody could have figured this out. Right. But nobody raised their hand and says, "There's an issue." Okay. And at the end of the day, that caused angst. And we talk about the cost of the lack of accountability. Mm-hmm. You know how many clients that we ended up losing because of that? Right? Yeah. Because they wasn't getting service right. Exactly. But it was nobody's fault because it wasn't set up the right way. Right. Mm-hmm. However, and this is a thing that goes across most organizations. Most organizations' failures aren't surprises. Like I said, I was like, this ain't going to work. Right. However, they tolerate the pattern. Okay. Mm-hmm. They figure we came up with something. And we figured it'll run itself, right? And then more importantly, we're afraid, and that's where the issue was. The manager was, afraid to call somebody out. So it's easy to not call somebody out because nobody's accountable. There's no name on it. It's not Tony, this is yours, or Julie, this is yours, or whatever the case may be. It was a blanket situation, right? And so what happens
and that happens in meetings too, right? It happens in meetings. You'll go to a meeting and everybody's talking about this problem and this project that everybody needs to be working on and these deliverables. And then everyone leaves the meeting. And if you did an interview, like an exit poll walking out of that meeting, you would have 4 or 5 different responses as to who's supposed to be doing what. And so one of the things I teach when I teach this course called Meeting Held, a Meeting Well is exactly that. Like before you walk out of that meeting, who's on first? Who's on second? Who's on third? Who's doing what? Because when you don't have that level of just bottom line accountability, no one's going to know that it's them that's expected to do that. And 4 different people could have 4 different expectations about who it is who's supposed to be doing what. So it comes down to communication.
Communication. And you see, that scenario you just painted has always been a pet peeve of mine. Because that probably happens way more than the first scenario that we come up, right? Because there's a million meetings. Everybody, we want to come up with a new product. We want to come up with a new go-to-market strategy. We want to come up and get all the stakeholders together, and then nobody owns nothing, all right? There's all ideas going out, to your point, and it is just a wasted time of energy that never accomplish anything, right? Now, here's the thing, though, too. The other part of accountability is the part where we hold some people accountable, but we don't hold the others. Okay, I want you to talk a little bit about that, right? Because at the end of the day, we make sure Joe. You got to make sure you this. Where's your one-on-one? Where's this? Where's that? But then Pete, we don't say nothing to Pete, right? And we don't hold Pete to the same accountable from a team standpoint, and everybody sees it. Speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was just talking with a client today who actually had to terminate an employee for that exact reason, because they had all the team members were showing up on time, were making their deliverables, were making their deadlines, were being held to these standards. And this one person was not. They were just getting let go, and, oh, they're having a rough time. Oh, they've got some personal issues going on. Oh, they're new to this, whatever that was. All these excuses were being made instead of holding them to the same accountability standard that everyone else was. And so the manager stepped in and had to have some hard conversations and made the tough decision that they needed to be terminated. Because not only was that the respectful thing for the employee, to be honest, which is to say, I'm not going to let you get away with this because this is setting up bad patterns for you, not only in this company, but in any job you hold. But it was a cancer to the team. It was going to drive performance down, because if I'm watching my colleague get away with something that I'm being held accountable to, that's going to be hard to overcome and really pitch in to the level that I am capable of. That's why accountability matters, is because it creates connection, it creates collaboration, it creates and reinforces trust, because people know that there's a fairness about it. And when people see things as being arbitrary or preferential treatment, not only are you opening yourself up to a whole host of legal issues, but you're also just ripping apart at the team's fabric.
Absolutely. And let's go back to the system part that you talked about, right? Yeah. If you remember, this was years ago, remember Jack Welch?
Yep.
Who was the CEO of, what was it? General Electric,
Everything.
I think it was? Yeah. Thank you. All right. Which ended up becoming NBC or whatever it was, right?
Exactly.
And he used to have this, he believed that, you had A and B players, and then every year he would fire anybody that wasn't, he didn't deem as a B player, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, number one, that made no sense. But really what it did was it taught managers that I'm going to ride my high performers, okay? And then the low performers get normalized, all right? Yeah. So we're not going to hold. So back to that issue, right? A lot of times the manager is really counting on, what's that, 20%. Is that the number? 20% is your high. Yeah. Exactly. Right. 20% is your high performers. Okay. And then you got this percentage, you got this percentage. So what they tend to do, because that 20% is making them look good, that 20% is the ones that's driving results. They're the high performers, right? So they hold them accountable. But the other people, they don't hold them accountable, right? And so what happens? The high performers get burned out. They become resentful. Right? Because 100%. At the end of the day, they're making it happen and they're getting paid well and all that. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that they're looking and seeing that Joe and Susie are not being held to the same standard. And more importantly, they're working circles around Joe and Susie. All right. And at the end of the day, Joe and Susie are still on the team. All right. When they should be banished or trained, or something should happen to help bring their performance up. And more importantly, make it equal, so everyone is being held accountable based on their performance. Right. And so what managers end up doing, they spend more time, instead of fixing that, they spend more time trying to manage emotions than outcomes, right?
Yeah. And that's it. I think a lot of it if it comes down to communication and it comes down to systems, it also comes down with a comfort with conflict. And conflict, not like fighting it out to the death on some stage. It's the conflict that happens when I have to say something that might feel uncomfortable, that you might have a retort for, and I might need to navigate that. And I'd rather just avoid that because I don't want to feel any sort of way that might be uncomfortable as a manager. And the problem with that is that delayed conflict is so much bigger than having it right away.
Oh, you're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got to get comfortable with having hard conversations that hold people accountable. And here's the thing, people want accountability that is fair, that is collaborated onto, with that is clear. Like if you just look at how good people feel when they accomplish a goal, you know that they want accountability to get there, because having a goal isn't enough. About 10% of people who just have a goal actually accomplish it. Do you know how much it is if they have an accountability partner, someone they've told they're going to do it, and an actual date held to have a meeting about that?
It's probably 80, 90%.
95%, Tony.
There's no question.
95%. And so who doesn't want to feel successful? So having accountability breeds success. So why wouldn't we give that gift to the people who we are paying to have that opportunity to deliver on those promises? Why would we do that?
And this is where the blueprint needs to be burned, okay? And the new blueprint, and look, we've been talking about these things, and a lot of them come back to the same solution. The managers need to be trained on how to hold people as accountable, okay? And you have to spend time in terms of training them, okay? So let's show our next clip in terms of what's the 4 steps that everyone needs to incorporate when it comes to accountability.
As leaders, we often need to hold others responsible. In order to do this, we need to do 4 simple things. The first is we have to establish expectations. Here's what's expected of you. Second, we have to gain commitment for that's what's expected of them. Are you on board with this expectation? Third, we have to inspect what you expect. I'll review what you do. And number 4, we need to provide feedback and consequences. Here's some feedback for what you did, or because you didn't live up to your commitment, here are the consequences.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's part of it, is letting people know what you expect of them, making sure they have the tools, resources, and authority to deliver on those expectations, and then checking it out. Like if you just do that and then you walk away, you're like, oh, they got it. We're fine. That's not accountability. That's hope and a prayer.
Yeah, and you can, and so that's like base stuff, okay? But the other things in terms of that you can do with that, right? This is where one-on-one meetings are very important, right? You set one-on-one meetings with your team, a weekly one-on-one or a bi-weekly, whatever the cadence is for you based on the industry and the job, right? And then obviously going back to your meeting, what you talked about meeting, the meeting is structured, okay? Is that, hey, you're going to show me your activity, what meetings you had, what happened, this and that, whole 9 yards, right? I'm looking at this from a sales standpoint, right? We're going to review your numbers, where you are from a KPI numbers. You know, you're supposed to have 5 meetings a week, all this type. So we're going to talk about all that. You're going to bring that to the meeting. So I usually give people a form. So they fill it out and then they send it to me prior. And then we sit down. And then part of it is, where can I help you? Where's the bottlenecks? What's going on that's stopping you from achieving what you need to achieve, right? And then so now the employee knows exactly every week or bi-weekly or whatever, they're going to sit with their manager, their leader, right? And we're going to work together, right? They know, and here's the key, is the expectations are set up front. So you know you need to have 5 meetings a week. You know you need to do this. You know you need to do. All these things are set up front. You know that I'm here to help you. So I want to know what areas that's, like, again, being a bottleneck, that I can be able to help you. So when you set those expectations, right? front where everybody's on the same page. And then to his point, you get a commitment like, you clear? We good? Anything wrong with this? Blah, 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 right? And you make sure we can set the meeting. Friday's good for you? Thursday? So I give him even a choice, right? Because I don't want no excuses, right? Because I don't want to hear by Fridays I have a bad back or whatever the case may be, right? But at the end of the day, you set it up and then that's your accountability meeting. Not only that, that's also where you build trust. Because here's the thing. You said something a minute ago, which is really key, right? Is that, and it goes back to something that I started implementing years ago, and I call it the yellow brick road. All right. So when I either take over a new team or if I've hired somebody, and let's just say the first question, and I sit down and meet with them one-on-one. The first question I ask them, and I want them to answer right now, is, why are you here? What do you want to accomplish? Is it, I want to move up into leadership, or I want to make more money, or I want to be a part of something bigger than myself? Whatever it is, I want you to think about it. And then we're going to meet next week, and I want you to tell me, hey, Tony, this is what I really want to accomplish here while I'm here. Great. Now I know it. Now I want to help you come up with a game plan so you can become successful. It's called the yellow brick road of success, right? Yeah. We're going to work together. Now, however, if I see you get off in the woods like Dorothy, you don't have no problem of me bringing you back on the yellow brick road. And you know what? I'll have no problem, Tony, blah, 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 because this is what I really want. Now we have a communicate, we have a date, right? So now you gave me permission, okay, that I'm going to hold you accountable. And because my job is to help you become successful, because when you become successful, I become successful. So I'm bought into you, right? And we're going to work this together. However, if I see you get in the woods, I'm going to chat with you about it to bring you back, right? To help you get to where you want to go. And this is what I found. People want they want their leaders to be invested in their success. All right. Because when they're you just said it in the numbers. When you have goals with dates and this and that, it goes from 10% to 95% in terms of actually hitting that success.
Right. And I think a lot of people also have accountability confused with catching them doing something wrong, right? Being like gotcha moments. I'm going to hold you accountable because I'm going to sneak up and find your numbers. And then I'm going to have this, confrontation. And here we are. Here's the thing. If you have, and again, the numbers prove it out, when accountability systems are seen as fair and dignified, meaning they are respectful of your capacity, your authority, your equipment and tools that you're provided or can find, right? People are four times, Tony, more likely to be honest. And that's the thing. Like if people are thinking they have to hide their failures, and we talked about this on another episode, if people feel like they have to hide their failures from you because you're going to get gotcha moments because the accountability systems are not fair and dignified, people are not going to be honest with you about when they make a mistake or what's actually going on. They're going to hide it from you. And then you're not going to be able to correct the systems that are leading to that failure. If you do it as a fair and dignified process, 4 times more likely to bring those things to your attention so you can actually create improvements to be able to change things for the better. And that's what we want.
There's no question. Here's the other thing too. Now, it's remember Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror? Remember that song?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So as a leader, you got to be held accountable too. Okay. You have to, your word is your bond, right? Because at the end of the day, your team is looking at you. And it's hard for them. You want to hold them accountable, but you're not holding yourself accountable, right? You're not showing up on time for their meetings. All right. You're making a million excuses on why this can't be done and that can't be done. Right. And so great leaders, that yellow brick road talk also is, hey, This communication goes both ways.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I'm not perfect. So if you see me not doing the things that I said I'm going to do, I want you to say something to me. Hold me accountable. And when you have that type, again, that commitment, and you're willing to throw yourself down and say, look, if I'm not doing what I need to do or I'm supposed to do, then you have every right to hold me accountable because we're a team. Then you start making magic, my friend.
Right. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I think, again, it comes down to trust, and it comes down to that collaboration to be able to get things across the finish line. And if people don't trust you as a leader, as a manager, they're not going to be open with you. They're not going to share their failings and their questions and their hopes and dreams. And so you have to create that level of not only accountability, but also receptivity.
Exactly. And you know, one thing though, as we get ready to close, it's very important for everyone to understand that accountability is not micromanagement. Okay? It's still allowing your team members to empower them to be the best they can, to allow them to do their jobs that you hired them for. Okay. So it's not about, you know, what are you doing today? What's going on? Right. Nobody wants that either, to be fair. Right. You can't cage a bird. You can't, get an eagle and then put, a peanut butter on their wings.
I mean, you can. Okay? That'd be an interesting weekend activity.
But at the end of the day, you want them to fly. All right. So you still can have them fly, but at the end of the day, you can still hold them accountable. Okay. And so those things work in tandem. They're not they're not deemed as real soft or mushy or anything like that. And at the end of the day, we're both parents.
Yeah.
And, when you have kids, you want your kids to be the best. You want them to go out. You want them to fly. You want them to live their dreams. You want all that. But at the end of the day, you're still going to hold them accountable to the things, the expectations, and to the rules, and to all those things, right? And part of that is called love.
Yeah.
Because I love you so much. I want to make sure that we're on the same page and you're following that. Well, guess what? That love extends to your work employees as well, your team members. Would you agree with that, my friend?
Yes, because you want your team to be the best they can be.
Exactly.
Who doesn't want to feel the pride of a job well done? Who doesn't want to get across the finish line with all the banners waving? Everybody wants that. And so when you match accountability to access to tools, to the ability to have authority over things, to have people weigh in on what they can be accountable to, and you help them remove the roadblocks that might be inhibiting some of that success, that is a great form of, as you put it, love. And love has lots of forms, in personal, professional, like that care, that caring that we give to our employees is what has them going the extra mile, showing up to the hard moments. And so accountability is one of the leadership tactics to help us get there.
I love it, my girl. See, no pun intended.
My God. Yes. Absolutely.
So, Dr. B, I think, go ahead. I think, we want to leave everybody. Accountability is not about catching people doing something wrong. It's about giving people a fair shot at doing stuff right and setting clear expectations up front so everyone's on the same page, and then measuring those expectations, right? And providing feedback. It's very, very important, and anybody can do that. So I think that's a wrap for today's Burn. What do you think?
I think so. I think we burn down an outdated blueprint and show everyone exactly what needs to happen to make that different in today's workplaces.
Absolutely. And look, we've been receiving some great feedback from you in terms of our prior episodes. So again, if this sparks something in you, share it with someone if you think somebody needs to hear it. More importantly, we want to hear from you. What do you think about accountability? Is it weak? Is it soft? Do people need to, step up and handle their business? Or there's other solutions or other ways that you use with your team in terms of accountability? Please share it with us, okay? Because it's very important, because because we're trying to build something better for everyone.
And join the movement. Tell us what blueprint you want us to burn next.
Absolutely. But guess what? This is Burn the Blueprint podcast.
Where old systems get tossed.
And new ideas get built.
Exactly.
All right, my girl, you got the lighter?
I
burn
do.
it up. Burn it. Burn it. I like a pyro and stuff, right? Start looking in the flame and stuff like that. All right, guys. Dr. B, see you next time.
Thank you. Take care.